Hi guys, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, got a post here by Hedera, and once again another great use case coming in. So it says, -1% of trades in Virginia's mandatory credit market had an observable price. No participant could see the whole. Water Ledger builds Swan on Hedera, one shared trust layer where regulators, asset owners and brokers all see the same record. Okay, let's get into it then. So I've got the article here in a bit more detail. Every credit tracks from issuance to retirement on a single verifiable record with public sector validation. Virginia's mitigation and nutrient credit market is mandatory, worth hundreds of millions, and until recently ran without a shared record of what credits existed or what they were sold for. In partnership with the state, Water Ledger built Swan on Hedera, giving regulators, asset owners and brokers one real-time auditable ledger. It became operational with Virginia DEQ in January 2026. The problem: buying a mitigation or nutrient credit isn't optional. Federal and state law require wetlands and pollution their projects disturb. Yet Virginia's market ran on fragmented records. Fewer than 1% of commercial trades had an observable price. The top two nutrient sellers controlled 58% of visible trades, and reliance on the stopgap advance credits nearly tripled. Strain: no one could measure because no one held the full picture. Solution: Virginia Department of Environmental Quality (DEQ) selected Water Ledger to build Swan, the stream, wetland and nutrient credit exchange on Hedera. Rather than another broker, Swan provides one accounting layer: which credits exist, who holds them, what they've satisfied, that no single participant owns, yet everyone can trust. Every credit is tracked from issuance to retirement on a single record, with permit and supply data syncing weekly, so the ledger reflects live regulatory reality. One ledger tracking every credit end to end. Swan provides one accounting layer, not several. It records which credits exist, who holds them and what obligations they've satisfied, and it's that shared record, updated in real time by the legitimate actions of everyone using it, that a trading environment sits on top of. A market can survive high prices, thin liquidity, even sharp disagreement between buyer and seller. What it can't survive is every party holding its own private version of the same facts, where every dispute becomes an argument about whose records are right rather than what to do next. On Swan, every credit is tracked through its full cycle, from issuance to retirement on a single record. Asset owners, the brokers or consultants acting for them, and the regulator all see that the same record rather than separate copies permit data syncs weekly from DEQ's CD system and supply data syncs weekly from Ribbits. So the ledger reflects current regulatory and supply status instead of a static snapshot filled months earlier. Because that record is anchored on Hedera, it is immutable, independently verifiable, and owned by no single participant. A shared set of facts that is simply what's there, the same for everyone who looks. Why Hedera? Swan's whole job is to give asset owners, brokers, and a state regulator one shared, real-time record of environmental credits, so the ledger underneath it has to be neutral, tamper-evident, and dependable in production. Hedera provides that. Its consensus service provides an immutable, independently verifiable record that no single participant controls, which is precisely what turns, quote, whose records are right, unquote, into a settled question. Fast finality and throughput let the ledger update continuously as trades occur, while fixed USD denominated fees keep costs predictable at scale. A real requirement when you're running a live market for a government agency rather than a pilot. For a market that is entirely about environmental credits, Hedera's carbon negative footprint also matters. The infrastructure accounting for water quality and habitat restoration doesn't work against the outcomes it measures. That combination, environmental credibility and enterprise-grade performance, is why development was supported by the Hedera Foundation, and why Hedera was the right foundation for public market infrastructure operating at scale. Okay, very nice. So once again, we're talking here about Hedera being the trust layer, right? When they talk about it being the trust layer of the internet kind of thing, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. So as you can see right there when they've talked about why they've picked Hedera, this is why, again, I was saying to you guys before when I discussed this recently about fixed fees, right? And so I was saying how, to me, like, I saw a recent post by Hedera where they were talking about, you know, the advantage of having fixed fees in USD. And I was saying how I think ultimately they was talking about Ethereum, but it does apply to other networks as well in terms of the fixed fees in USD. Like, in terms of, like, you know, scaling, I think they was talking about Ethereum, because when that network gets congested, the fees go through the roof, like the gas fees do. But in terms of it being fixed in USD, that's a flex that Hedera has over many networks just in general, because a lot of other networks do their fees denominated to the token, the crypto token, to that network. And so the prices can change. And so the thing is, as they said here, like, if you're going to be doing, like, you know, payments at scale, like many payments, having it fixed in USD allows you to really know exactly what you're going to be paying. Like, there's even actually a Hedera fee calculator, so you could, like, you know, see how many transactions you reckon you're going to be doing, and then put that into the fee calculator, and it'll give you an estimation of what kind of price you'd be looking to pay. You can't do that with other networks. So when you are talking about doing this at scale, I completely understand why they've picked Hedera. And with Hedera being like the trust layer, yeah, once again, you've got immutable data here. So this is a government that's using Hedera here, and they're saying these things as to why they've chose Hedera. So if you can hear a government saying this about the network, do you not think other people are going to see this as well and think that's a very big cosign for Hedera and make them want to use it as well? You know, like, you're seeing this adoption happening, and we're not just seeing it happening from just like the average developers. We're seeing governments now, we're seeing banks, large institutions who are like piloting and you know, actually adopting the network, going into live production as well. So yeah, like, I think this is massive. You know, the use case is simple. It's basically just immutable data, right, being put on the ledger. So it can't be tampered with. There's no way anyone can say, you know, well, this is what our record says against what this other person says their record says. It says different. It's on the ledger. It can't be tampered with. That's it. Once it's on the hash graph, that is it. What happened is what happened. That's the fact. It's a simple use case, but it's going to be so useful for many people. Like, this is going to be something, you know, that's going to be done on scale, because you can change this to many different things. You can change this to a house sale. You can change this to buying and selling diamonds. You can change this to, you know, tokenized stocks. Like, there's so many things there. This would be so useful. I just can't see how this won't be the bigger picture. You know, like, I just think that this is where it's going to head. And so, yeah, once again, you can see exactly why Hedera has been chosen. Also, just to add, and he mentioned this in the article just briefly, but Hedera being a carbon negative network, right? Like, this whole thing sounds like it is talking about, like, carbon, you know, that type of stuff, like trying to reduce your carbon footprint and all that kind of things, you know, take care of the world and that stuff. We already know that Hedera is the most carbon friendly network out there. So again, if you want to practice what you preach, then you're going to want to use a carbon negative network, right? Which Hedera is. So once again, you can see when it comes to this kind of activity, whenever it's like trying to be like eco-friendly or doing eco-friendly use cases, you'd ideally want to use an eco-friendly network, which Hedera is just top. It is just the number one. So as I've said before, they will get a lot of traction in that regard. I think when it comes to anything, you know, eco-friendly, which, as we know, like, is a very big priority in this world now with like climate change and all that kind of stuff. Like, everybody's trying to reduce their carbon footprints and stuff like that. So I think that's going to open many doors for Hedera. You know, I really think that will really open a big door for Hedera in a whole new level of adoption once we get to like regulations and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, this is a huge positive. I thought I'd share this with you, once again showing you why Hedera is being chosen and why it is a top tier network in that regard. I think this is just something to keep an eye on. I think they've done stuff with Virginia DEQ in the past as well, to be honest with you, unless it's been like testing, and this is where they've now officially, you know, launched their product with them. But yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on this, and if I get any more information worth sharing, I'll be sure to let you know. But I'll leave it there. If you did like this video, please remember to like, comment and subscribe so you can be updated for future HBAR content. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be alerted on when I do drop a new video. Thank you very much for watching this, and I'll see you all on the next one.